Okay, we will call to order the meeting for Shenandoah City Council for April 8th, 2020. Call the roll and notice that everybody is here. Real quick, I'm going to read a little bit as it pertains to the Open Meetings Act and how we're going to conduct tonight's meeting. This meeting will be closed to in-person attendance by the public. A temporary suspension of the Open Meetings Act to allow telephone or video conference public meetings has been granted by the Governor, Greg Abbott. These actions are being taken to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 by avoiding meetings that bring people into a group setting in accordance with Section 418.016 of the Texas Government Code. Telephonic and video conferencing capabilities will be utilized to allow individuals to address the council. Emails may also be submitted. Members of the public are entitled to participate remotely by telephone. Citizens may join the meeting by calling 832-585-8100. Again, that number is 832-585-8100. And the conference ID is 4576. 4576. The conference password is 1234. Conference password is 1234. Hopefully we don't get into a password discussion. The meeting will be broadcasted on YouTube as usual, and the conference line audio will be audible to the YouTube viewers. So if you do have a comment or would like to be heard, anybody listening on YouTube right now, please do call in, use your conference ID and the password, and we'll have normal citizens' comments as usual. Keep in mind, it's not any different. We can't deliberate, so we won't respond to your comments, but we do hear them, and we appreciate that. Okay, we're going to stand and say a Pledge of Allegiance, and then after we get finished with the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to say a quick invocation for us. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Lord, we come before you tonight, and as always, we always start off by saying thank you. We always say thank you for your grace, your forgiveness, your love, for loving us perfectly, even though we are imperfect. I think in times like this, there's a lot of uncertainty, and we don't have all the answers, and we have to remember that you do. And so when we come together on nights like tonight, we just have to know that we're doing the best job that we can to do what we should for our residents in a time of uncertainty. And there's a lot of questions and a lot of whys and a lot of what ifs, and those really aren't for us to figure out. Those are for you to already know and already have figured out. Our job is just to carry out what we think you want us to do as best we can. We're going to ask for a favor tonight. We don't do that often, but tonight we're going to just ask you to please protect all of our loved ones, all of our residents, our strategic partners, our staff, our first responders who are out there on the street right in front of people. Just protect them and take them back home safely to their families and make sure that their families are safe. We know that you have all things under control, and we're going to trust in that. And especially this week of any week, this is just a great reminder that we can trust in you. Pray these things in your Son's names, and all God's people said, Amen. Amen. Okay, so once again, if you want to, this is item 5, which is a citizens forum. So if you would like to call in and make a comment or be heard, some sort of statement, now would be the time to call that 832-585-8100 phone number. Conference ID is 4576, and the conference password is 1234. And I'll wait about a minute or so because I think it's a 30-second delay. So I'll wait about a minute or so to see if anybody calls in. If not, we'll move on to to item 6.
And I'm monitoring, I don't see anybody calling in, so.
Okay. It's probably been pretty close to a minute, huh? Okay. All right, well, so there is a second citizens forum as normal, item 14 on the agenda. So if you do decide you want to call in, there is another chance to do so. Okay, so with that, let's move into item 6, which is the first council inquiry. Does anybody have anything they would like to bring up right now? No? Okay. Then let's move to item 7, which is a proclamation declaring April 20th as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. Whereas preventing child abuse and neglect is a community problem that depends on involvement among people throughout the community, and whereas child maltreatment occurs when people find themselves in stressful situations without community resources and don't know how to cope, and whereas a majority of child abuse cases stems from situations and conditions that are preventable in an engaged and supportive community, and whereas child abuse and neglect can be reduced by making sure each family has the support they need to raise their children in a healthy environment, and whereas child abuse and neglect not only directly harm children, but also increase the likelihood of criminal behavior, substance abuse, health problems such as heart disease and obesity, and whereas all citizens should become involved in supporting families and raising their children in a safe and nurturing environment. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among social service organizations, schools, faith communities, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. Whereas prevention remains the best defense for our children and families. Now, therefore, I, M. Richie Wheeler, Mayor of Shenandoah, Texas, do hereby proclaim April 2020 to be National Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month in Shenandoah, Texas, and urge all citizens to recognize this month by dedicating ourselves to the task of improving the quality of life for all children and families. There's an old saying that it takes a village. It takes a village, so this is everybody's. And I'm so thankful to our city secretary, Courtney Clary, who brought this to my attention. This was really her doing to get this on tonight's agenda. I'm 100% behind it and supportive of it, but I really appreciate her being the one to bring it to light. So it does take a village. It takes all of us, and so I'm happy to proclaim this as National Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month for the city of Shenandoah. And I signed this proclamation, but hopefully we can get it better when there doesn't have staple holes in it. Would anybody like to make any comments on agenda item 7? I think it's, I imagine everybody's 100% behind that, so.
100%.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Well, let's move into item 8 then, which is discussion and possible action to amend the Planning and Zoning Commission's bylaw.
Council, if you look in your agenda pack, the only change to the bylaws is on page 2, and it's highlighted toward the bottom, and they want to change the time of their regular meetings, move it from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m. And there was a agreement in the meetings, and we had a follow-up notice went out by email, and 3 of the 5 confirmed in writing, but the other remaining 2 agreed in the meeting that this was a change they wanted to see.
Make a
Okay.
motion we approve.
I have a motion by Councilman Broad. I have a second by, I think, Councilman Fletcher. Second by Councilman Fletcher. Do we have any discussion?
I mean, I'm okay with that as long as the members of D and Z are okay with it.
we've got. That's really my big concern is, it's one of our issues, right, is making sure everybody can get back from their work. And I know we've got different work schedules in the P&Z, so if everybody's in agreement, I'm okay with it. If it's something they've asked for and everybody's in agreement with, so.
They have asked for it.
Yeah, and I would just add in that as long as the public is able to make it, but I don't think historically there's a big public turnout, but I don't have any metrics on that.
I think typically it's for specific agenda items, a public hearing, or if there's a presenter, a developer. And just for the record, we did suspend P&Z for the month of April. We're hoping to resume in May. It just depends on how things go.
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines as Mike and Ron. If we were to start to get a bunch of feedback from residents, then maybe we look at changing it. Nothing's etched in stone, right? But the members want this, and so I think it's a good thing to do for now and just see how it goes. So, all right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 9, discussion and possible action to ratify the purchase of a pump for the Research Forest lift station.
Let me add for the council's benefit, excuse me. Under the declaration of emergency, the mayor did have the authority to approve this purchase. It was time sensitive, so the only action council needs to take is to ratify.
I make a motion that we ratify the pump purchase of the Research Forest lift station.
Second that.
I have a motion by Councilman Raymaker. I have a second by Councilman Gristy. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 10, discussion and possible action to fund an advertising campaign for local retail and restaurants.
Council, we've done some preliminary legwork on this, and we've identified some rough numbers and a range for this campaign. We looked at everything from print to digital to billboards, everything. John said that so far there's limited availability of billboards. As you get further away from the city, they become a little less expensive, maybe more available. But as it stands right now, locations that are key to us are not available, and they're also more costly. What we're looking at tonight is if council wants to allocate a certain amount of funds, and then we see what we can do with those funds, because we have not pared it down to what the best use of the funds are yet. We're still looking at print, digital. Print ads can be very expensive. We need to look at how long do we want to run this campaign? You know, do we want to look at a month, 3 months, 6 months? When you get it outside of 3 months, it becomes a little too long. Keeping in mind that when our business is open, everyone's businesses are going to reopen. We hope they all reopen, but there will be a general occurrence of everybody doing the same thing. So it's not going to be news necessarily just for us, but if we want to help, say, for example, Shenandoah is open, and we can back that up with what we've been doing with our restaurants already by letting people know who is reopening, what are their hours, what are they offering, is it back to normal, or is it some kind of, stepped in type of schedule and service? That's yet to be determined. But we'd like to refine the campaign, how we use the money, how long we do the campaign, et cetera. We'd like to refine that a bit more. So we do, so we're being cautious with our dollars right now, but still being effective.
Yeah, so that was my point exactly for asking for this to come forward, was that everyone's going to open at the same time. I mean, all Montgomery County, what we want to do is do as much as we can to funnel them into our businesses and let our restaurants know that they're open. And this really is a two-pronged approach. It's one, to let the community around us know we're open. Come back and eat in our restaurants. Come back and shop in our stores. We're taking care of things. It's also to let our businesses know we care about you, and we're gonna make Shenandoah a place for you, so you can become successful. You can come back out of this stronger even than before, and that's the point of this campaign. I don't know if we had any dollars allocated. The problem is we had a local promotions fund. We didn't really put any money in it other than a few dollars for John's salary. if he was to be working on a local promotions project. And so that's why this had to come before council, is to allocate some money. It doesn't have to be spent, but to move money from the general fund, some of the left surplus from this year's budget, so that it can actually be spent for local promotions. I didn't get a number. Do we have a dollar sign, or?
We've got very rough.
Yeah, I know it's gonna be very rough, and
If we did a little bit of everything for, say, 1 month, we're looking at $18,000 to $33,000.
When you say a little bit of everything, what is everything?
That's billboard, print, digital, social media ads, and then the design costs are nominal. If we did a 3-month campaign with a little bit of the same, $52,000 to $87,000.
so specifically what I was looking for tonight was get the design costs. That was really the goal, was to be able to allocate enough money that we could.
Design costs are $750 to $1,500, so that's going to be
Okay.
very easy.
Well,
And so we can, you know, establish our design and our message, and, you know, if we need to, say, forego billboard or forego print or something like that, or pare down what we do, the size of the placements, you know, then we can kind of fine tune. But if council
So-
wants to,
do we have enough money now we have enough money in that fund to take care of design costs then?
correct, we do,
Okay.
yeah, we're in good shape
So
on
I'm
that.
gonna
What do we have
propose-
in the fund right now?
I think the surplus is 200,000, is that about right, Lisa?
Oh, 15, it's like 15,000 is what we have in local promotions.
That's what-
About to say, not the total general fund.
Well, that was discussed in budget, and Lisa had to remind me of this too, but council opted at budget workshop to set aside a portion of John's salary, but we never allocated money toward
Oh.
local promotions, so.
So we still need to put some money,
It was
so there's
discussed.
nothing in that account.
Yeah.
So we gotta put something in there.
However, under the public relations and admin, there's 2,000 for sponsorships that are unallocated at this time.
Right, we have other sponsorship funds in case something comes up that we want to do.
Well,
That's,
I'm of the opinion we need to stick to almost strictly digital. We're gonna get the most bang for our buck in digital. I mean, trying to put billboards up or print ads, I mean, they're not as effective anymore.
that would be the most cost
There-
efficient
yeah.
way to go.
I think we can get the most bang for our buck trying to stay digital, with maybe some Google placement and some social media ads. We wanna find some.
I don't
quick
disagree.
money.
I didn't realize it was going to be fairly inexpensive to do the design. That's the only reason I was pushing for it to be on this agenda, was so we could have money to pay for design, so design could be done, so when the order's lifted, the campaign can roll out. And it's literally like, John pushes a red button.
Well, so the item is actually discussion and possible action to fund an advertising campaign.
Right.
So, I mean, we need to probably
So,
come up with a dollar amount.
I think you're probably right. And
Yeah.
so we said,
I'm of the opinion that, I know that we'd put, if I recall correctly, and I'm probably wrong, but Lisa can correct me, I thought we put like 50,000 into a park fund that obviously we're not going to be using this year.
We did.
I don't know how much of that we've used, because I know we've had some park design or whatnot. Maybe we allocate the remaining of that fund towards this project.
Do we know how much we have left of that?
40 something, I think. Yeah, because all we did, Landology provided some designs, some concept designs, and then we didn't go any further than that.
I can tell you with about $5,000
You can do a
for
lot.
30 days, you can do a lot on digital. And so my thought process would be maybe we spend, let's start off by maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of 15,000 over a 90-day period and see how that's tracking. Maybe we pay for some placement on Google when people are doing searches, and we pay for some social media ads.
I would like to consider, I know over the last several months, at least on my phone, I get pinged all the time.
Yeah.
And it gets your attention, it draws you to where they're trying to take you. I mean, it's not necessarily that I reply
You
to.
getting text
but-
messages?
Yeah,
Oh, see, I hate those.
I hate those too, but you know what they say about advertising?
Yeah.
Bad advertising works as good as what you would consider good, because people remember it and they see it, and
well, it sounds like, I mean, to me, 15,000 and that can get them off and running.
So we would need to do a total of 17 if we're gonna do the design as well.
Yeah, I think that'd be fine. I think we
Yeah.
can, and we've got literally surplus left over from the
Yeah.
budget that, yes.
Mayor and Council, we do have a surplus, and that's given if we bring in the revenues we anticipated, so we have to also consider that. The
Good
park
point.
improvement, funding that you were mentioning, that was MDD approved funding, so I don't know if that's needs to come to MDD as well.
Right.
We'll ask them for this too. I mean,
this
hey,
would- this
it's
could fall-
absolutely, yeah,
fall
that's
under
absolutely
Sure.
falling under,
Yeah, so make sure that
yeah.
we're all, you know,
I mean, they're funds
Okay.
that are already allocated is the point.
Yeah.
So it's not
Yeah.
like we're having to, but because my concern is the same, is we don't know what our surplus truly is gonna be this
Right.
year. And if we go another month like we are right now, that's not gonna be the same case.
Good news is our sales tax are up.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you, Home
Thanks to
Depot,
Sam's and Home
Yeah.
Depot.
Is that
yeah.
true?
They're carrying the, yeah.
Is that true, our
I
sales
think
tax?
last month they were, weren't they, Lisa? They were actually up last month, and we'll find out, what their,
in the
what,
next couple days.
yeah, next couple
Because
of
then
days. for
I
this
take the position of, I'm hesitant to spend general fund dollars right now because I don't know how much shortfall we're gonna
one.
have.
I agree,
But
No,
you-
I agree with you.
And
If you're in
and
it, yeah.
While I'd love to be able to do something, but I think we need to hold off until we know better about what that lost revenue looks like and how quickly businesses are gonna reestablish themselves and the cost of the various campaign options. Short term, it's like if they're gonna open up, then certainly waive a lot of the sign ordinance so they can put up whatever banners they need to let people know they're open, but I think people are busting out to get outside right now.
Well, don't get me wrong, I like the fact that you're being thoughtful and cautious, but I just don't know if we have the time. I think in 30 days, we need to hit the ground running with a couple of different promotions.
I would even like for us to consider utilizing the promo signs through the city right now, identifying the restaurants that are open, so our own city can be supporting those restaurants. I know we get it out through the through the e-blasts that go out, but not everybody gets those. And so I think, spending a few $100 just on our city signs that can promote businesses that are currently open. If nothing else, say, go out to dinner tonight and, here's a list of businesses. Or go out to dinner tonight, check the website for open businesses today.
Not a bad idea.
I'd like to make a motion that we fund the local promotions fund with an amount of $17,000 from our surplus for the purposes of designing a advertising campaign.
For the next 90 days, or no time limit, or?
Yeah, just for, I would think we'd have to have no time limit because
I don't think
we don't know when they're gonna
Okay.
open up.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilman McLeod to fund an advertising campaign for $17,000 for local retail and restaurants. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Councilman Brought. Do we have any discussion?
I'm good with that number, I'm just not good with that source.
The source?
Yeah.
We can ask for MDD
I
reimbursement,
would rather
right?
it come from the park fund that we're not going to use, rather than try to allocate surplus funds that we don't know.
Well, I think what Councilman McLeod's saying is we're gonna ask MDD, but if they say no, then at the end of the day, we're still gonna do it from somewhere.
Absolutely, yeah, it has to be done. I feel like it's critical that it needs to be done. I'd like to ask MDD for it, absolutely.
Could we
Yeah,
put some funds back in the Shenandoah Business Association, the SBA?
Well, that's what this is local promotions, it's gonna do the same.
I mean,
Well, I'm just saying, it's all public relations, and every department's got a dollar amount.
when we come around to budget, we can.
Yeah.
Which probably
Well, I
shouldn't-
just asked the question.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, who knew when we swept it last year?
Right?
Mayor
Um,
and Council, SBA was funded by MDD, so.
Yeah.
It was funded by MDD.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Any opposed? Okay, so motion carries 4-1 to fund an advertising campaign for our local retail and restaurants. Okay, item 11, discussion regarding incentives for hotel guests.
Council, the mayor brought this up at the last meeting, and this is similar to the ad campaign. But it's specific to our hotels. You'll see in your agenda report that John contacted Scott Joslove with the Hotel Lodging Association, and it is legally allowed for us to offer our hotel guests this incentive. It can only be used in our restaurants, obviously, so it's not at Sam's Club or Discount Tire or anything like that. So it would incentivize our hotel guests to use our restaurants, which would be a convenience for them and a savings. John brought up a good point. Do we want to put some criteria around that? So in other words, do they need to stay a minimum of 2 nights in a hotel at a certain rate? Or is it just open-ended?
Obviously the rate, yes, we're gonna have to come up with some parameters there. I think they get it per night. My envisioning was maybe a $30 voucher per night that they stayed. Because that's a very standard per diem out in the business world for people to go out and eat on. I think what we would probably need to do is, I think that we would have to find out what the hotel's average rack rate was last year, and they need to be charging somewhere, we need to figure out maybe a dollar amount. I'll leave that up to John's discretion, but what I wouldn't want them to do is charge more money now because they know they're getting the $30.
Right.
So maybe we say at a maximum of your average rack rate last year, then your guests are eligible for this $30 voucher. Again, I'm very open to suggestions on that, but I think we need to come up with some sort of bumpers on it to that degree.
Okay. Also, let me add that, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Lisa is also looking into that virtual pay mechanism that you talked about. One of the concerns we've had in the past when we've talked about the idea of a gift card or a voucher is theft. If these things are laying around, that sort of thing. So
We can't do a hard card because that'll
Yeah.
end up happening. We don't want
Right.
to do something that's labor intensive for the staff. So the company that I work for, we use this virtual credit card to pay all of our clients. Works perfectly.
good.
So
Okay.
I shouldn't be a problem. And if you have any questions and you need to walk somebody, once you've contacted VPay, if you're still not completely clear on it and you want somebody to walk you through it, I can get you in touch with our accounting department and they can walk you down that path. Yeah. They're probably working from home too, yeah.
Well, I have a couple comments. I said, one, I'm not sure, I know $30 in your world is a lot, but maybe we drop it a little bit to 20. I also agree we've got to come up with a rate that makes sense. I know there's some local hotels that are fairly inexpensive and aren't going to be generating this revenue to, they're going to be generating far less than this. We want to make sure they're actually going to use it while they're here, and so hopefully this VPay has that's been this is not a new idea, it's just we finally have a technology that allows the linkage.
Right.
I don't know if we've got an expiry on it. If it's got like a 7-day expiry, we need to think about how is it issued like every morning. When you log into when you show up to the hotel, do you get your VPay account set up and then the hotel drops 20 or 30, whichever number we decide onto that, every morning. I like the idea. I'd also like us to create an upper limit with this, 7-day expiry. So I loaded a guy's card with $100. He decided he went back to Chicago, didn't use it. That money needs to drop back into the account. It still was a promotion. It didn't get used. Obviously you can only spend it in our restaurants.
So I like the idea of having an expiration. I don't know about 7 days.
I mean,
because you gotta remember, for business travelers, oftentimes they're going to the same location several times throughout the course of a year, and it could be monthly. So what I would almost say is you would want to put an expiration on there, but I would say we come up with something, and I'm just spitballing it right now, but maybe something where you do it annually, or you could do it every 90 days. But I'm just telling you, I know, me and Dean and Charlie, I guarantee you, we knew we're going somewhere every month or every 6 months or once a quarter or whatever it is. Like, I know I have certain clients that
Right.
once a year, I know I'm going to go see them. And so you'd have the opportunity to go use that again.
Okay, that's something to think about. My concern was when we allocate that money to VPay, that sits unused for that whole period of time.
Sure it does.
And then nobody else can touch that. And so while this is an incentive for the hotel, it's not taking care of the other the other half of that. So I mean, I think a year is probably too long. You're probably right, considering the
Maybe 90
7
days.
days is
90
probably
days
too
probably
short.
makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing that, you know.
That's fine. And then I think you should be able to, I'm assuming you get one card per person, you just add money to it, or is it multiple individual?
It's a virtual credit card number. And so
Yeah, I mean, no, it's on your
Yeah.
phone or what, app or
You could do it
whatever.
either way. You could issue a different number for each night. You could do the same number depending, for how
But
many
that-
nights. I mean.
That's something to think about.
I'd like to throw this out. I think we're making it too complicated. Why don't we issue coupons or vouchers, whatever, to all the hotels, but we don't really care about it until it's redeemed? So why doesn't the restaurant have this virtual credit card or whatever? And once the voucher is redeemed at their restaurant,
The problem is theft. You have people,
Well, who's
you
gonna
know,
th-
you
what?
have somebody at the front desk of the hotel is sliding it to their cousin to go have a free dinner at Outback. I mean, it's, there's no way to track
so
it.
there's no honor among thieves, really. You know,
Well, I mean, and one thing I'd like, and hopefully VPay could help with this, is tracking both hotel usage and restaurant
Yes,
usage.
you can. That's the beauty of it.
And that would take care of that. One other idea I had that I bounced off of staff is, I'd like to have a requirement that restaurants register to participate. And one of their requirements would be that they list their address as Shenandoah. I don't care what they call themselves, but they can be, Woodlands Chili House. That doesn't, but when they say Woodlands Chili House, Conroe, Texas, and they're in our city, that makes maps and other sort of tracking more difficult. And I know Debbie's doing a great job of fixing Google Maps and things, but at the same time, I think that's a reasonable requirement, that you recognize you're in Shenandoah and you want to participate in this program that will help drive customers into your establishment. So,
Something to look at.
Yeah.
It'd be great to encourage them at the end of the day if they start doing business and produce tax dollars. That's what's most important.
But it's recognizing
Yeah, I agree.
the community of restaurants that we have, and it's going to make us easier to keep up with the restaurants we have, because we can look for that.
No question.
And it'll make it easier to map and track. So I don't think it's a onerous requirement.
So I think this is another one of those, in conjunction with that advertising campaign, that we probably, outside of 30 days, we need to be ready to pull the trigger. Everything is pointing towards maybe that middle of May, to where hopefully, God willing, knock on wood, we'll be maybe back to business as usual. And so I think we need to be ready to pull the trigger and start putting some of the stuff into place.
Well,
So I guess-
that was a discussion only. If
Right.
council would like, we can come back with a little bit more of a
Yes.
detailed plan.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need more of a detailed plan by that next April 22nd meeting. And then by the time we get into the May 13th meeting, we should already have something in place. But if we don't, we absolutely need to put a couple of things in place
And so we need to be talking with all the hotel managers and
Yeah,
find
and
out
our advertising
and our
campaign.
yeah, that whole, because I would tie it together. I mean, our advertising campaign, even though we could pull CVB dollars if we're also advertising hotels.
Well, I was
That's
just
right.
gonna say that, because
Yeah.
if
Which
Scott
we should be
Johnson
doing.
said this is legal,
Yeah.
why can't we use it for the
If we're advertising the hotel,
If we're
absolutely.
but
Previous.
just add the hotel advertising into our local, hey, get away from your house, you've been stuck in
It
your
would
house.
have to be just hotel if you're gonna use all hot tax.
No, no, you can't-
I think
no,
hot
no,
tax can
we would-
contribute to the percentage of which they are being advertised as well.
Exactly.
These are
That's-
two separate things.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we can use CBB funds for the hotel incentive, the restaurant voucher thing. The other, and they're two different audiences. So CBB markets to the visitor audience. The local ad campaign is going to be directed toward local people.
Right, but I think
region.
what Mike's saying is we can also maybe beef up our advertising a little bit for our hotels at the same time.
Right.
Right. Because I think one of the things is, hey, you've been stuck in your own home for 6 weeks. Why don't you come hang out at the beautiful Holiday Inn and enjoy a vacation?
Well, then we're gonna have to advertise this voucher. No one's going to come stay in our
Right.
hotels because of the voucher if they don't know about the voucher. So we're gonna
Correct.
have to advertise it. I mean, that's sort of a given. Okay, anybody got
So
anything
John-
else?
John's
So
got it.
what's the expectation of staff coming back on the 22nd?
On the 22nd would be to have a actionable item that we can put this into place. Yeah, by that point, we should have VPay figured out. We should have, if we want to do some sort of registry for restaurants, have that figured out.
So we should have our design
should-
already figured
yeah,
out.
have
what
our
we're-
design figured out.
Advertising design, all that figured out in the next 2 weeks by the time we come back.
We should have already talked to the hotels to make sure that they understand and are on board.
So-
I just wanted to clarify, so that way there was,
One
No,
other
thank
one other comment, I think we ought to put a ceiling on this first run. I know you'd mentioned that we had 2.3, 2.7 million, and we could burn through that in 90 days. I think we put some upper limit, 500,000, $1 million to go.
Yes,
That, you know,
And
when
once
it
again,
gets here, we're done.
that would have been at 100% occupancy and 100% redemption of vouchers, which we know
Right.
neither of those are going to happen, so.
I think when we meet again, we need to come up with a limit for this campaign, and then
I don't disagree
we
with that.
we can reevaluate that. If it's highly successful and we're getting our hotels and we're getting our exposure, maybe we continue it, maybe we tweak it a little, so.
it's all fluid, it all moves forward that way, but for argumentative sake, I would say split the difference between Councilman McLeod and the mayor at $25 a voucher.
That'd work, that's a nice number.
I'm fair with that,
That's-
yeah,
that's
that's
a
fine.
solid number.
It's a good number.
There you go.
See how easy that was?
Thank you, Ted.
Okay, anything else before we move on?
So, can I ask one question on that? though?
Absolutely.
Just to be clear, so my only question is, so with that being said, we'll come back with some recommendations, doing our exploration based on the budget, based on the action items and the things that you want, and hopefully have most of the answers for you on April 22nd. And if there's further discussion, we do it at that meeting.
I'd like for you to come back with something we could vote on.
Yeah,
And what we're gonna bring back is, how we're using these funds, these proposed funds.
Okay.
And I don't know if our ad agency will have concepts ready, that's more of a staff
Yeah.
level. But it's here's what we're using these funds for.
Right,
Does that work?
yep, yes,
Okay.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's for the ad one, and then this one, I think we want to come back with, this is probably a lot of Lisa, but also John. Tell me what hotels are on board. Tell me if the restaurants are on board. What's going to be the cost? Because there's, you know, it's not just the.
But some of those things are going to be the parameters that we're talking about, price points, rates.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
What are there any other incentive parameters? What are gonna be filing parameters? And are we going to have trackable? There's a gamut of things I could
All
dive
that.
into again.
Yeah,
But
all
I'm not
that.
gonna do that right now, but that's all I'm talking about. There's several things from a mechanics.
Yeah, what I don't want to do is I don't want to, paralyzation by analyzation. I want to actually put something together that we can act on fairly quickly on both of these, the advertising and the voucher.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that. Moving into item 12 then, which is discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of the February 12th, 2020 and the February 26th, 2020 regular meetings.
Move they be approved as read.
Have a motion by Councilman Brought,
Second.
have a second by Councilman Christie. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 13, discussion and possible action to ratify the accounts payable for February 2020.
So moved.
Have a motion by Councilman Brought. I have a second by Councilman Raymaker. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We move to the second citizens forum. And this is, again, this is our call-in citizens forum. So if you would like to call in, the number's 832-585-8100. The conference ID is 4576. And the conference password is 1234. There's about a 30-minute lag, so once again, I'll give us about a minute and see if anybody calls in. Anybody on the line, Chris?
Not yet, about another 15, 20 seconds.
Just seems a lot longer when you're waiting.
It does seem like.
It's like trying to watch toast, isn't it?
I'm watching the clock. Okay, we're about a minute, so no one is dialed in.
All right, we will move on then. Item 15 is city administrator updates. That's Kathy.
All right, first of all, just an update, to council that the community room is under construction, so they're making good headway. Another update on the public works side, Kenny, our capital projects director, has resigned. He's taking another opportunity in Alabama. It will enable him to be closer to family and make a little bit more money, and so that we wish him the best. He's been with us for about 5 years, so best of luck to Kenny. And also a heads up on road work in the next couple of weeks at the intersection of David Memorial and Tamina. There's going to be some work to fix sunken pavers. That should be a job that takes a couple of days. There will be some lane closures, so we'll put that information out so drivers will be aware. On the police side, Chief Shaw indicated that they have slowed down their contact with our senior residents because fewer of them want to open the door and have face-to-face contact. So they're not completely giving up, but they're slowing down just to accommodate the residents' wishes. And also, regular calls for service are down. The police are seeing more people in the businesses that are open, and they're helping to control those crowds by reminding them of the 6-foot rule and monitoring any lines or any head counts that some of our businesses are enforcing. Another reminder is the mayor has moved the April meeting back to the 22nd. If you recall, that was originally going to be early voting. We moved the meeting out. That's been canceled. So the meeting is back to its original date of April 22nd. And then Bill has an update for you on the Jacobson Hotel.
Let's see.
Turn it on, Bill.
Yeah. On?
Here, take a check.
Uh-oh.
Don't touch my
We,
That can't.
the
There's
city,
no part of social distancing going on there.
the city filed suit in late March against Jacobson Hotels for a variety of reasons: non-payment of hotel occupancy tax, non-payment of property tax, non-filing of hot tax reports, non-payment of water bill, the presence of bed bugs in the hotel, as well as a small child that was stuck with a syringe, a used syringe in one of the rooms. The court set an injunction hearing for April the 3rd. On April the 2nd, the Jacobson Hotel paid $52,000 in property tax, which was past due, paid $7,008 in hot tax that were past due, filed their hot tax reports. They did not pay their $3,800 water bill because we can't close them based upon the county judge's standing order. We did have a hearing in front of Judge Bays. The hotel, based upon, and each of you have a copy of that order, based upon the testimony at the hearing, Judge Bays has closed the Jacobson Hotel until such time as it is free of bed bugs. We had an inspection today. I believe 50 of the rooms were inspected. 4 or 5 had active bed bugs. The hotel is in the process of being thoroughly cleaned pursuant to the judge's order, and we are identifying those permanent residents which Judge Bays has ruled will not be able to live in the hotel on a permanent basis, but we are not moving them out because of the coronavirus situation at this time. So hopefully the bed bug situation will be remedied, the hotel will be cleaned, and then we can report shortly on efforts to move those people who are living there on a permanent basis.
Thank you, Bill. And I want to add to that, that this is, just for the record, this is in very, very, very small part about the dollars and cents as it relates to back taxes and hot taxes and water bills. Not that those aren't important. I don't want anybody to think that they're not. But human safety and health conditions far exceed those dollar amounts, especially when it comes to little kids. And so our actions against this hotel was really more about public safety. And we are just not going to tolerate in this city somebody having a business like that that is that much of a health risk to anybody, but especially children. It's just not going to happen. So thank you for taking swift action on that. Okay, so are you done, Kathy? I'm done. Okay, then we will move into council inquiry, and we'll start with Councilman McLeod.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to all the staff for all the excellent communication we've had with the residents. The police, we've definitely noticed their presence when I do have to get out and go get stuff, whether it be at Sam's or other stores. We've definitely noticed the presence. Other people notice the presence. I think it's probably why we haven't had any serious incidents, is because those Tahoes are out there. They're right in front of Home Depot. They're right in front of Sam's. They're moving, constantly patrolling across all of our Portofino stores. Every time I happen to be out, which isn't a lot, but I'm seeing multiple, and I think that physical presence is just helps everybody keep a cool head. And so I just want to give a big thank you to the staff for helping the city through this time.
Thank you. I think that's well said. Mayor
I'm
Pro
good,
Tem?
I'm good, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Christie?
Just echo the same sentiments that Councilman McLeod. The police and all the staff have just done a fantastic job of keeping everybody informed, and the presence of our officers all over the city. You can see it all over the place, and I think it really makes everybody more at ease, knowing that the city's out there taking care of everybody. We really appreciate it. I know all the residents appreciate it, so thank you all.
Councilman Fletcher?
I would say the same, that staff has done a phenomenal job. I think in times like these, when situations happen like we're experiencing, you have to lead from the front. And Kathy, you've done a great job in leading the city, making sure communication's out there, making sure that staff is not just taking care of our residents, but you're making sure that our staff is taken care of as well. And all that's extremely important. So appreciate the job that you've done, the job that the police department and public works and everybody's done to step up and lead from the front rather than wait to see what may happen. I appreciate the action that y'all are doing.
Councilman Raymaker?
Just reiterate what I had mentioned in my email to you last week about what a great job you're doing leading staff and keeping everybody calm. So again, thanks Kathy for your efforts.
So I have a couple of quick things. At the last meeting, I came up with sort of a harebrained idea to look at deferring restaurants, specifically restaurants, but we might need to now even broaden that up to other retailers, deferring their property tax to the city, not all property tax, but also their sales tax to the city. Again, not all sales tax. As crazy as that sounded at the time, and I think I want to look into it. I want to crunch the numbers. I'm of the opinion that Councilman Raymaker is, that I think that we may be in a little bit of crunch when it comes to our budget. Our revenue this year may not end up being exactly what we thought it was going to be, but I want to look at it and see if we can afford to do something for our restaurants and retailers. And my thoughts were confirmed yesterday. I was on a conference call with Governor Abbott and Congressman Brady, and the state of Texas is deferring payroll taxes through the end of the year for businesses, and they're going to give them up to 2 years to pay those payroll taxes back. And they came, after they explained this to us, they came back afterwards and said, hey, if you can come up with something creative in your local communities, you should try to do that. And so I think we need to continue to at least explore that. We may not be able to based on whatever lost revenue we might have, but I sure would like to take a look at it and crunch the numbers and see if we think that's something we can do, where we could either do a 90-day deferral, or maybe we defer it till the end of the year. I don't know, that seems like a long time, but maybe we defer it to budget to October, the fiscal year, and defer those sales tax revenue dollars and property tax, and then we give them a certain period of time to pay that back, and maybe ours is shorter, maybe we have them pay it back in a year as opposed to 2 years. State's got a little more money than we do, so. But I think we can at least look into that, and if there's a possibility, again, to pump some revenue back into our local economy, I think that we're gonna need that. We're gonna need some sort of stimulus. So, anyway, thought that was interesting. And I would like to continue to explore that option. On that note, talk to Judge Keogh on a regular basis, and he also wanted to tell me and passed along how great a job he said the city was doing, both staff and specifically the police department. He goes by Home Depot and Sam's on a regular basis, was extremely impressed, not only by those particular retail establishments that they were doing some crowd control themselves, but then we also had a presence there helping them. Not to mention our restaurants, very impressed with all of our restaurants. Almost all of the major restaurants have, curbside tents set up. So every time he calls me, right before he's gonna give me some bad news, he tells me the good news of how impressed he is with our city. So that's a good thing. And I think we just need to keep that up, and we need to let our businesses know that that's not going unnoticed, and let our officers know that that's not going unnoticed. And then the other thing is, we had to cancel the Easter egg hunt last Saturday. And that was painful for me. That's one of my, that one and Lighting of the Angels, those are probably my two favorite days of the year. I absolutely love those. And, I've had a lot of people ask a lot of different things, hey, well, what if we did this? What if we did that? At the end of the day, we want to do something right. We want to do something good for the community, and we want it to be something that we can look back at it and say, hey, that was a great idea, and it worked out, and it went really well. And so we'll come up with something. My initial thought is maybe we expand our 4th of July parade, or 4th of July celebration, rather. That's just an initial thought. Don't know if timing is going to work out for that. I think we're going to have to get a little bit further out of the woods before we know if that's going to be viable or not. But at any rate, we will come up with something. We had funds allocated for the Easter egg hunt. We used some of those funds up front, but we can reuse those hopefully next year in some cases. So we'll have some money set aside that we can do something for the community when we get out the other side of this deal, where we can all, when it's responsibly safe, we can all come back together as a community and have some sort of event. Again, mostly for the kids, but for everybody. And then the last thing I'll say is, I don't know how many of y'all keep up with where we are as a city, but as far as the COVID-19 goes, but we are still holding at only 3 cases. So that's really, really encouraging. Even though, Montgomery County has quite a few cases, Harris County has more. There obviously is, there's a reason to be cautious in this area for sure. But having said that, and I said it all along, Shenandoah has geographically isolated very well. If we do our part with social distancing and staying at home, then we can do a really good job of keeping that number at 3. With that, I'll wrap up just by saying that staff, residents, strategic partners. We're doing a great job as a city. Let's just keep it up. Let's keep doing our part, and we'll get out the other side of this sooner rather than later. So, anybody got anything else you need to add before we wrap up? Okay, well, with that, we will adjourn the meeting at 7:56. Thanks, everybody.
Happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, old man.